Have you ever pondered the chilling notion of a nuclear apocalypse? As we sit around our TVs, our smartphones, our laptops, have we ever stopped to wonder about the grim potential of a nuclear doomsday? What circumstances could possibly lead to such a horrifying reality? It may seem like a subject of fiction, a theme of dystopian novels and apocalyptic movies. But let's not shy away from this unnerving topic. Instead, let's delve deeper, unravel this complex narrative, and imagine, just for a moment, a world where international relations are not just strained, but are teetering on the precipice of collapse. Picture a world where international tensions are not just at an all-time high, but are fraught to an unprecedented degree. A world where the slightest misstep in diplomacy, tiniest error in judgment, could ignite a catastrophic sequence of events. The first domino to fall in this fearsome chain reaction could be a severe breakdown in diplomatic relations. Nations around the world may begin to recall ambassadors, cut off communication lines, and isolate themselves, not just politically, but economically and socially as well. The world as we know it starts to fracture, breaking into pieces, each side viewing the other with suspicion and hostility. The second event in this terrifying chain is an intensification of the arms race. Every country, caught in a paranoid frenzy, starts to hoard nuclear weapons, stockpiling them as if their survival depends on it. The manufacturing of these weapons of mass destruction skyrockets, with each nation trying to outdo the other, escalating the tension to a near breaking point. The world hangs on a knife edge, dangerously close to the precipice of destruction. The third event, the final straw that breaks the camel's back, is a solitary launch. A nuclear missile, held in the hands of a desperate, cornered nation, is unleashed. The trajectory of this missile, once plotted, triggers an automated response from other nations. A volley of missiles crisscrosses the globe, the start of a nuclear exchange that seals the fate of the world. In the ensuing minutes, our world, as we know it, is consumed by apocalypse. But what happens in the aftermath? The world is plunged into a nuclear winter. The skies darken, blocking the sun's rays, causing temperatures to plummet and life as we know it to come to a grinding halt. Infrastructure crumbles, societies collapse. We're left with a survival game in a world that seems to have lost its sanity. So to summarize, the path to a nuclear apocalypse begins with an unraveling of diplomatic relations, escalates with an alarming increase in nuclear arms production, and culminates in a single devastating launch. The aftermath is a world plunged into a nuclear winter, with radiation making survival a near impossibility. It's a sobering thought, a chilling reminder of what could happen if diplomacy fails and conflict prevails. This hypothetical narrative underscores the importance of diplomacy, communication, and mutual respect between nations. It highlights the devastating potential of nuclear weapons and the urgent necessity for their eradication. Yes, it's a grim topic, a disconcerting thought, but one that needs our attention. So, next time you find yourself staring at the sky, remember the delicate balance that keeps our world from descending into nuclear chaos. Remember, the power to prevent such a catastrophe lies not in the hands of a few, but in the hands of many. We all have a part to play in ensuring a safe and secure future for our planet. As we navigate through this unsettling narrative, we find ourselves at the precipice of a diplomatic breakdown. Tensions rise, nations become increasingly hostile, and the first disturbing signs of impending doom begin to surface. Visuals, dark background symbolizing the growing tension. Slowly, silhouettes of ambassadors and diplomats start leaving, symbolizing the withdrawal of diplomatic relations. The usually bustling embassies, the nerve centers of international diplomacy, now stand ominously silent. The doors close one by one, the flags are lowered, and the once vibrant symbols of international cooperation are reduced to ghostly shells. Visuals, empty embassy buildings with lowered flags, deserted offices, and shut doors. Communication lines that once buzzed with diplomatic chatter, fostering mutual understanding and cooperation, are now eerily silent. The absence of dialogue, the lack of communication, chips away at the already strained international relations, further escalating the animosity. Visuals, visualization of communication lines going silent, the world map slowly getting darker. One by one, nations begin to isolate themselves, erecting invisible walls that not only segregate them politically, but also socially and economically. The world, once a global village, now seems more like an archipelago of isolated islands. Visuals, countries on a world map pulling apart, symbolizing isolation. This is the first step on the path to a nuclear apocalypse, a step that transforms the world from a stage of diplomacy and negotiation to a battleground of suspicion and hostility. Visuals, the world map transforming into a battleground, with symbolic nuclear weapons pointing from one country to another. As we witness this disheartening degeneration of international relations, we are forced to reflect on the importance of diplomacy in maintaining global peace. It is at this juncture that the urgency for diplomatic intervention becomes painfully apparent. Visuals, images of peace symbols, dove, olive branches, contrasted with the dark backdrop of the world map. Remember, it's not just the diplomats and politicians who hold the power to prevent this disaster. It's also us, the common people, who can contribute to the preservation of peace by advocating for diplomatic solutions and rejecting the path of violence. Visuals, images of people protesting against war, promoting peace. In the next scene, we will delve deeper into the escalating arms race that follows this breakdown in diplomatic relations, pushing us further down the path to a nuclear apocalypse. Visuals transition to the next scene with a fading image of a nuclear missile being launched. As diplomatic ties crumble, a terrifying new era dawns upon us, the era of the arms race. Visuals transition from the previous scene to images of weapons manufacture. Nations, now isolated, see power as the only currency that matters. The once bustling factories, now repurposed, begin churning out weapons of mass destruction. Visuals, factories with assembly lines of weapons, missiles, and nuclear warheads. The world, already teetering on the edge, is now faced with an unprecedented buildup of nuclear power. Visuals, stockpiles of nuclear weapons growing, the world map showing countries bristling with symbolic nuclear weapons. The sound of machinery and the ominous glow of nuclear reactors replace the earlier chatter of diplomacy and the warm glow of cooperation. Visuals, machines working overtime, nuclear reactors glowing ominously. Each country, in its pursuit of dominance, contributes to a deadly global arms race. The stakes are high, and the world watches with bated breath as the balance of power shifts dangerously. Visuals, depiction of a seesaw or scales tipping back and forth to symbolize the shifting balance of power. This arms race, a horrifying spectacle of power and paranoia, sets the stage for a potential nuclear apocalypse. Visuals, images of the world on the brink of destruction, nuclear missiles ready for launch. It is a grim reminder of what happens when diplomacy fails and power takes precedence over peace. Visuals, images of peace symbols fading, being replaced by symbols of power and destruction. As we move into the next scene, we delve deeper into the terrifying reality of a world living under the shadow of an impending nuclear apocalypse. Visuals transition to the next scene with a fading image of a nuclear mushroom cloud. Remember, it is not just the world leaders, but also us, the people, who have the power to change this narrative. Visuals, images of people advocating for peace, protesting against nuclear weapons. The question is, will we rise to the occasion? Visuals, image of a question mark, symbolizing the uncertainty and the collective responsibility. Scene script, a dimly lit control room with a large screen displaying world map. As the arms race reaches its climax, the world is but a ticking time bomb waiting for the trigger. A ticking clock superimposed over the world map. The final trigger, a single launch, sets off a chain reaction. A finger pressing a red button, a missile being launched. This is not a test. This is not a drill. This is reality. Visuals, warning signs flashing, people in control rooms reacting. A missile soaring through the sky, leaving a trail of smoke. A single missile soars into the sky, its destination unknown. But the intent is clear: destruction. Visuals, missile heading towards the horizon, control rooms in various countries receiving alerts. Automated response systems across the globe detect the launch. There's no time for human intervention or second thoughts. Screens flashing with incoming missile alerts, people scrambling in control rooms. Visuals, multiple missiles being launched across the globe. In a matter of minutes, retaliatory missiles crisscross the globe, each carrying a payload capable of unimaginable destruction. Visuals, missiles in the sky, crossing each other's paths, world map showing missile trajectories. The once blue sky is now filled with trails of smoke and impending doom. Visuals: sky filled with missile trails, people on the ground looking up in fear. Visuals: clock ticking towards zero, faces filled with fear. This is the moment the world has feared. The nuclear apocalypse begins. Visuals: nuclear explosions on the world map, images of devastation. The countdown to the end has begun. Clock striking zero, white flash. But remember, it's not too late to change the course. Images of peace rallies, protests against nuclear weapons, people advocating for disarmament. Visuals: hands joining together, symbolizing unity and collective action. Visuals transition to the next scene with the image of a peace symbol slowly emerging from the devastation. Visuals: a transition from the devastation to a quiet, calm setting. In the face of such a grim reality, one might wonder, is survival even possible? People in a bunker, canned food, water containers, medical supplies. Let's explore some strategies that could increase our chances in a nuclear apocalypse. A family rushing into a sturdy concrete building as the sirens blare. Firstly, seek immediate shelter. The best protection from nuclear fallout is a sturdy building or basement. Visuals: interior of a bunker, stocked with food, water, and supplies. The more barriers between you and the radioactive fallout, the better. Visuals: diagram showing how concrete and soil blocks radiation. Visuals: a battery-powered radio, a person tuning it. Stay informed. Keep a battery-powered or hand-cranked radio to receive updates from authorities. Communication could be the difference between life and death. Visuals: emergency broadcast being played on the radio. Visuals: shelves stocked with canned food, water containers, medical supplies. Stock up on essentials. Food, water, and medical supplies can sustain you in the aftermath. Remember, in the event of a nuclear apocalypse, resources will be scarce. Visuals: people rationing food and water. Protective clothing, gas masks. Protect yourself. Wear protective clothing and masks to shield from radiation. Every layer of protection counts. Visuals: people wearing protective clothing and masks. Visuals: a family huddled together in a bunker, a calm after the storm. Surviving a nuclear apocalypse is no small feat, but with the right knowledge and preparation, it's not entirely impossible. Remember, the key to survival is preparedness. Visuals transition to the next scene with the image of a sunrise, symbolizing hope.